Yes, you're doing it the old way. So thank you everybody for being here. We have Helen Bradley, Senior Terrestrial Biologist at the Frost Museum, formerly working at the London Zoo, and she also was a volunteer here at Pelican Harbor Seabird Station. She's gonna guide us through some lesser known facts about reptiles and reptile care and housing. Thank you. Thanks.
Hi everyone, thank you for coming. Nice to see a couple of familiar faces and no heckling from the back from my husband. Thank you for inviting me to speak. Mariana is well aware that I am out of my comfort zone here, but as I can't see you, I feel a little bit better. I'm going to start with a little bit about myself. Don't worry, I'll keep this short. I'm from the UK, I have a funny accent. I never knew what I wanted to do as a career, so I spent 12 years in the UK working in a publishing company, doing a variety of roles behind a desk. I realised I didn't want to sit behind a desk. Holidays in South Africa made me realise that wildlife was more where I wanted to go. So I volunteered in Namibia for 4 weeks, hands-on experience with lions, cheetahs, caracals, baboons, meerkats, all sorts. Very nice meerkat statue there. That was interesting. Not many people get that close up to a lion without being eaten. Thankfully, they were cubs, so it wasn't too much of a drama. They were about 18 months old. They did still like to tackle people to the floor when we took them out for a bushwalk, right? And one of those people was me. I then started volunteering at London Zoo. I'm sure you've all heard of that. I started there as an education volunteer, eventually became a qualified zookeeper, where I spent 5 years working with birds. And I've realised today, putting this together, that I have a lot of penguin photos. Believe me, there are a lot of other birds there too. Unable to work with a green card when I first moved here with my husband in 2015, I started some more voluntary work. One of the places I started volunteering was here. So 2 months after I moved to Miami, I joined the Pelican Harbor team. I was here for 6.5 years volunteering, feeding the wonderful pelicans, doing some clear-ups and catching, I think that was a cormorant I caught, straight out of the harbour at the back here. So I was here for 6.5 years. I also volunteered with Sobe Cats and a cat cafe in Miami, and then went to Frost Science Museum as a volunteer aviculturist. So most of you probably realise there's no reptile experience there whatsoever. But a job vacancy came up at Frost as their herpetologist. So I grabbed the opportunity to switch classes and I've been with Frost now for almost 3 years. About a year with a volunteer role, and almost 2 years now as a herpetologist and Senior Terrestrial Biologist, which is what I am now. Bit of a mouthful. I still look after all the reptiles, I just oversee the birds as well. Cards on the table, I do not have a lot of reptile experience. 1.5 years, kind of 18 months or so is not a lot, and the only reptiles I've worked with are the ones that I currently have at Frost. They're native to Florida, so if you are out and about in the Everglades, you're likely to find some of these guys out there. I'm hoping to give you some facts that you may not know about reptiles. I know someone in the audience will know some of this, so I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself and not giving you anything new. These remarkable creatures, with their ancient lineage and extraordinary adaptations, and not just survivors from the age of dinosaurs, they are complex, vital parts of our current ecosystem. They're cold-blooded, known as ectotherms, so they need to be out in the sunshine to gain body warmth, unlike mammals and birds who make their own body warmth. If they're too hot, they need to find somewhere shady or a burrow to cool down. These adaptations allow them to survive on far less food because they don't need the calories from food to make that body heat. They're incredibly resilient, able to endure harsh conditions and extended periods without food, a trait that's contributed to their evolutionary success for over 300 million years. Now, I'm old, but I'm not that old. Onto some turtles. We have box turtles at Frost. We have Eastern and Florida box turtles. They are nature's armored wonder. Their shells aren't just protective barriers, they are living, regenerative structures. Easy for me to say. They can actually heal minor shell damage over time thanks to these capabilities. Box turtles, for instance, possess a hinged or bilobed shell. This allows them to completely close themselves from predators by pulling all of their limbs in, head, legs, tail, all comes into that shell. It proves to be impenetrable. So if you're a predator looking for an easy meal, box turtles are not going to be it. It's just going to be hard. If I was a predator, I'd leave the hard stuff and go and find an easier meal. Box turtles generally live for about 25, 35 years. Some, though, have been known to survive for over 100. The shell is made up of a combination of scales and bones. It includes the rib cage, and pretty much everything is fused together, adding to the strength of it. Male box turtles have a concave plastron, so it can fit over the female's carapace. You might be able to see this on the photo on the right. It was really difficult trying to get a photo of this concave, but you can probably see in the middle there's a little dip. That's so that he can get on top of his girlfriend. Generally speaking, these small turtles can travel an average of about 55 yards a day. That's quite a long way for something that's kind of the size of my hand. They can find their way home from strange areas, as long as they're not too far away from home. But it's always recommended, if you find them on the road, pick them up, put them the other side of the road, but always put them in the direction they were facing. They know where they want to be. So there's my Eastern box turtle tends to spend most of his time out of his shell. He doesn't hide as much as the Floridas. Pick up the Florida box turtle, in he goes into his shell. And when you do that, because they're pulling all their limbs into that shell, they've got to make space somehow. So their lungs is what gives, and you get a hissing sound. So they pull them in, and then you just get a as they expel their air from their lungs. It's quite cute, and I tried desperately to get video of them doing it today. They were not having it. It's typical, as soon as you get the camera out to film, no one's performing. I also have two beautiful gopher tortoises that I care for at Frost. They're a keystone species, meaning they're a critical organism that has disproportionately large impact on its environment. They play a critical role in maintaining the structure of an ecological community, and they affect many, many other organisms in the ecosystem. So this first large photo shows you a lot of species that use gopher tortoise burrows. Up to 350 species utilize those burrows. They even include other reptiles, so they're not species specific. I've got to stop putting these words in this. These burrows maintain a stable temperature year-round, so they provide cool when it's hot, and we get very hot summers here, and it presents warmth for them in the winter when it's colder. We've obviously had some really cold weather in the past month or so, but gopher tortoises love to be in their burrow to stay out of that cold. These burrows can stretch over 40 feet long and about 10 feet deep. That is an awful lot of digging for one little animal to do. Oh, aren't they beautiful, my girls? Missy on the right loves to bask in the sunshine. And that position there is what we call a scute. So if any of you got cats or dogs, you may see them do this scute when they have both the back legs out stretched. It's very cute. Their legs, they have strong, stumpy, they're always described as elephant-like legs, which I don't like, but it's kind of true. Back legs. With their front legs, they're covered in scales and feet are shaped like shovels, all the better for digging those wonderful burrows. And there's my two girls in the sunshine. And this bottom right here, this is Missy. She loves to sleep. She sleeps in her bath. And I think she thinks she's very cute. So, With those digging shovel-like legs, they also use them to dig shallow depressions in the ground to catch and drink rainwater, so they can stay hydrated even when it's dry. Their shells can change colour, and I don't just mean from when they grow up from a juvenile to be an adult. When it's hot, their shells will lighten to reflect the heat. When they're cold, their shells are darker so they can absorb more heat from the sun. This subtle shift in pigmentation helps them manage body temperature with remarkable precision. They have a very slow metabolism, like a lot of reptiles, which allows them to survive long periods without food or water. But they also eat over 300 different types of food. Now, I don't think anyone in here would be able to name 300 different types of food, but my girls will eat them. This includes grasses, fruits, and flowers. And with many other species alike, they disperse the seeds in their fecal matter. Yes, I'm going to talk about poop a little bit. While the tough outer shell extends their longevity, there is a downside. It makes it very difficult to see what's going on inside. We had a challenge recently with Missy. She stopped eating and became very lethargic. Now, I might not know reptiles inside and out, but I know the animals I look after. And this was a warning sign that she was not well. So she came in to see our vet. We have a vet on site 2 days a week, which is really useful. We did x-rays and took bloods from her. Basically, she had a blockage in her intestine. We weren't sure exactly how big this blockage was, what exactly was stuck in there. So we called on our friends at the Baptist Health South Miami Hospital. With the x-rays, we managed to start giving her some fluid treatment to try and flush out whatever was in there, and it was sand. They live in sandy climates. She has a sandy environment. She obviously just started picking up way too much sand that she could expel, and that's what was causing the blockage and causing her to go off her food. She didn't want to put things in if it wasn't coming out the other end. And I like to have poop. If something's going in, it's got to come out. So off she went for a CT scan at the hospital. There she is going into the machine. Thankfully, I don't think she was frightened, whereas I know a lot of humans are a bit frightened when they go into this tunnel. We made a foam template for her to sit in so that she didn't move around. I think that's adorable, and I still have that foam. Should she have the same issue again, she's getting put in that foam and back in a CT scan. Thankfully, it wasn't a big blockage, so no surgery was required. So she came back home. We gave her some more fluids, managed her medical treatment, and she eventually passed the remaining bits of soil. And she is now back eating healthily, lovingly prepared salads by me. Everyone looks at the salads I prepare her and think it's my lunch. It's not. She eats a better salad than I do. She continued on this medical course. She's eating fine, and hopefully, touch wood, we won't have this issue again. But if we do, I know exactly what to look out for, and we know what process we're going to take medically with her. Randomly, her sister, we have two, her sister didn't have any of these issues. Tortoises have dichromatic colour vision, which means they only have 2 types of colour receptors. Humans have 3, so we get to see a much wider range of colours. They generally can see colours in blue and green range, which helps them when they're eating their greens and grasses, but they have difficulty distinguishing between reds and oranges. Perhaps unable even to distinguish between red and green, which is unusual because Missy likes red things. She must obviously use her sense of smell as well. She'll try and avoid the greens, which is obviously the best bit for you. We all know greens are good. And she'll always aim for the toppings, which, red hibiscus, red pepper, strawberries, but they're also very fragrant. And we use the juices on her food to try and encourage her to eat the stuff that's underneath, the good stuff. Like I said, she's not alone. We also have her sister Caroline. We don't generally name our animals. We have house names. Official names we don't tend to have. But Caroline is named Caroline because she's sweet. So she's sweet Caroline. Missy is just mischievous. So at Frost with these 2 ladies, I have improved their habitat since I've been there. They now have a nice grassy grazing area, and I've increased the level of substrate so they can do all that wonderful digging that they love to do. And they love to bask in the sun. They'll dig a little hole and bask in the sunshine for most of the day. Crocodilians. Scary to some, perhaps. I think they're wonderful as long as you know how to treat them. They are very snappy. They are the apex predators of the reptile world. Of course, in Florida, we're lucky to have 2 species. We have American alligators and American crocodiles, the only place in the world where you get both of them living in close proximity. I'm sure most of you in this room can tell me the difference, the obvious difference between the two. It is the snout shape. Alligators have a U-shaped snout, that's top and left. Crocodiles have the V-shaped snout, that's bottom and on the right. But who is going to get close enough to them if you don't work with them to find out who is who if they're in the water? Not me. These reptiles are known for their enormous strength and size. Male crocodiles can be almost 50% larger than male alligators. That doesn't sound great until you get the figures in your hand. Male crocodiles can grow to 20 feet. Female alligators can get to 10. That's a vast difference. If you see a female alligator that's 10 feet, that's a big animal. You look at that animal, male crocodiles can be twice that size. The average man is said to weigh 200 pounds. I'm not going to ask any of you to step on any scales, but compare that to the weight of a saltwater crocodile head alone, which is 440 pounds. So anyone in here that's 200 pounds, a saltwater crocodile weighs twice what you do, just the head of that crocodile. That's enormous. Alligators stop growing between sort of 20 and 30 years old. Crocodiles, however, don't stop growing, hence how they can get to be 20 feet. Generally speaking, crocodiles live longer, they're larger, they're heavier, and they have a much stronger bite force. A crocodile bite force can be, I'm going to say it in the English way, over 3,000. The alligators is under 3,000. Putting this in perspective with some other species, sharks, I'm not going to be specific on the species, anywhere between 600 to 1,300 PSI. Humans are about 150 to 200, so nothing compared to the snap of a crocodile. Alligators, crocodiles regrow thousands of teeth throughout their lifetime. At any given time, they can have between 60 and 80 teeth. All the better for grabbing their prey and swallowing. Now, when they swallow, their tongue is fused into their jaw. They don't have a separate tongue like we do, it is fused. So if you ever watch any alligator or crocodile feeding, you'll see they have to tilt their head back. Snout goes in the air, it's the only way they can swallow their food. They have nothing to push it down their throat like we do. Their sharp teeth are literally for grabbing prey and holding on to it. Killing it and swallowing, it's the head back and swallow in one go. They possess the strongest gastric juices known in the animal kingdom. That enables them to digest tough materials like bones, hooves, and even shells of turtles. Along with these juices are gastroliths, which are stomach stones. Some of you know birds have these. That helps to grind up the bones or the hard matter. So a combination of those juices and the stones helps them digest hard matter. Alligators and crocodiles are often confused with each other. One of the biggest differences, other than the size of their snout, is how they float. Alligators can effortlessly stay afloat. Crocodiles have a harder time because they are heavier and they have a narrower body, making them less buoyant. Alligators, however, are built for the water. They are streamlined, their tails are muscular and powerful, and it helps them swim efficiently. The key to their ability to float lies in their large lungs. So alligators can move their lungs in their body. If they want to dive, they can move their lungs further to the back of their body. That'll help them dive. If they want to come up, the lungs will move forward. This also helps with death rolls. If you've ever seen alligators do a death roll, they can move their lungs from side to side, and that's how they roll over, because the buoyancy changes. In like a ballast in a ship. The ballast in a ship is off, the ship's going over. Crocodiles have a different method of regulating their buoyancy. They have a valve in their throats that allows them to release air from their lungs, and it fills up a sac in their throat. That sac is their buoyancy aid, but it's just not as efficient as alligators. Crocodiles do, however, have a higher tolerance for lactic acid buildup in their muscles. So this allows them to hold their breath for even longer periods than the alligator, and they can swim more extended distances underwater. One of the most intriguing features of crocodilians, though, is their heart. The crocodile heart is four-chambered, similar to ours, but with completely separated ventricles, making it unique amongst other reptiles. They have special anatomical structures known as cog teeth valves. It's really probably hard to see in this picture, but I couldn't find one on the internet that actually showed just the cog teeth. But they're up here on the right, left. When these cog teeth valves give them the ability to divert blood away from the lungs. So it's controlled by adrenaline. When a crocodile relaxes, the lack of adrenaline closes those valves off and allows the animal to dive and remain submerged for long periods of time. Top right, can you see how spotty that jawline is? So these spots, they are known as dermal pressure sensors or dome pressure receptors. So these are what allows the crocodilians to sense things in the water. They detect even the slightest movement. A hair on the surface of the water, they're going to know about it. That's how they can react so quickly to prey, because even the slightest movement in the water, they know they can hunt and they will get it. If any of you think crocodilians are slow, you're very much mistaken. They can jump out of water at a speed of 12 meters a second. That is incredibly quick. They use strong legs and muscular tail to give them that quick thrust to attack prey. And you've probably seen this on wildlife programs with alligators taking zebra down. I have to use this speed when I'm cleaning my crocodile exhibits. I can't lower the water in it because it's linked to other systems at Frost. So I have to get in a snorkel when I clean. If TikTok, our crocodile, is on his basking rock, I'm good. I keep an eye on him, but I'm good in the water. But he very sneakily likes to go for a swim occasionally when I'm in the water. I have to notice that very quickly, and believe me, I'm sure I can leap 12 meters under the water in a second. Because if I don't, I'm going to get nibbled. He thinks it's a game because he'll then come out, I go in, vice versa. We play that quite a lot. I'm currently trying to train him so that I can keep him separate and away from me as he's growing. He's like 4 years old now, so he's kind of a couple of feet, 2 to 3 feet. I'm trying to train him to stay in an area so that I can get in and clean without having to hop in and out every 5 minutes when he wants to swim. I also training my alligators at the moment. They are about 18 months old. They're quite new. We've had them for just over a month now. This system, however, I can drop the water level and get in boots. They are inquisitive. If they're hungry, they'll come up to me, or they're just inquisitive to see what I'm doing when I have tools and things in the water. Generally, they will stay away, but I also know they're not going to attack me. Crocodile, he's going to come for me. On to snakes. Now, I know someone in the room is interested in the eastern indigo snakes. I have to say they're probably my favourite snake. Just don't tell the other ones I look after. We have 2 eastern indigos at Frost. We have an exhibit indigo, and we have one that is in our ambassador animal program. She is a little bit shorter. She had some stunted growth as a youngster, so she is shorter. Our exhibit indigo, though, however, is stunning. She is about 5.5, almost 6 feet long now. She's probably due to have her measurements taken. They are the longest snake native to North America, reaching almost 2.5 meters, just short of 8 feet. So my girl's got a couple of feet left to grow. They are iridescent, blue-black scales which shimmer under sunlight. They're quite simply stunning. It's really difficult to get a picture of the iridescence. You can kind of see it on this picture a little bit, but you really need real sunshine to see it, and you can see why they're called indigo if you catch them in the light. They're non-venomous, but they prey on anything they can overpower. So the usual mammals, small birds, amphibians, fish, even other snakes. They're immune to the venom of North American rattlesnakes. So they're a good snake to know. They're federally protected and heavily protected in Florida and Georgia. They're unfortunately vulnerable due to habitat loss, fragmentation, and the pet trade. They are also one of the species that utilize gopher tortoise burrows, sheltering from rain, heat, cold weather. But they also, unfortunately, because of this, fall prey to hunters who are looking to flush out rattlesnakes who are in those burrows. Unfortunately, the way the hunters do this is by gassing those burrows, and everything in it gets killed. So the tortoises, the indigos, and just the rattlesnakes that they were actually hunting. Eastern indigos employ powerful constriction to subdue their prey, and the bite, although not venomous, is impressively strong. I can attest to their potential strength, as both our girls like to hug me whenever they get handled. Our ambassador lady likes to hold on to my arm. She always wraps her tail around my arm as her security blanket. She also likes to go inside my t-shirt and other upper body clothing, which I will leave your imagination to work out what that is. Whereas my exhibit girl likes to attach herself to the top of my leg. So if I ever get her out, her tail wraps around the top of my thigh, and you end up walking around a bit oddly. She likes it, she's happy, she's comfortable, so it's fine by me. As you can see from these photos, top right, this is our indigo when she's a couple of days out from shedding, with her completely white eye. Top left is her beginning to prepare for shedding, and you can see the gaps in the scales a bit here. This bottom photo, however, is her in her natural state. Now, you're probably looking at her eyes thinking they're very similar. For some reason, she has a naturally cloudy eye. It's very slight, and it took me a while to realize that it is natural for this animal in particular. The vet's checked her out. She's had all sorts of eye exams. There is nothing wrong with her sight. She just, for some reason, has a slightly cloudy eye, which makes it difficult for people who don't know her to know when she's preparing to shed. A lot of people, particularly even my colleagues, think she's permanently preparing to shed. She's not, she just is different. I have, talking of shedding, I have a chart here, which I will send around later. I started this so that I knew when my snakes were going to shed, when they're going to poop, if their shed is complete, if it's incomplete, when they eat, when they don't eat, when they've been cleaned. I get a lot of comments. What are you doing with all those spots? This is going on my snake chart. I have them for all of my snakes. It helps us to keep better records for vets. I've changed when they eat so that I know when they're going to poop, because my vet loves to get snake poop. They used to get fed on a Wednesday, they now get fed on a Tuesday, because they generally speaking poop 2 days after they've been fed. And our vet is in on a Thursday. So if I feed on a Tuesday, on a Thursday, the vet gets lots of poop. So we can test that for parasites, just make sure they're keeping healthy. Particularly important when we've got ambassador animals that we're taking out to see public. On to red rat snakes. We have one. They are very adept at climbing. Our girl loves to climb her branches. I need to put some taller ones in there so she can do some even more climbing. They are the best climbing species of snake in Florida. They've just developed an instinctive knowledge of where rats and mice live, so they're very good hunters and ideal enemies of the pests that carry disease and cause damage to a lot of crops. So they should be farmers' best friends. Hurricanes, however, pose a threat for these snakes because heavy rain and storm surge can inundate this habitat and the habitat of its prey. They get flushed out from places. Milk snakes. Now, I'm sure all of you have seen these mnemonics before. This bottom one was the one I was always taught. Red on yellow, kill a fellow, red on black, all right, Jack. Not necessarily true. Like most of these things, it's the same with the shape of the head. Most venomous species have a triangular head, but there are exceptions. Most non-venomous species have a rounded or spoon-shaped head, but there are exceptions. Coral snake has a nice round head, it's venomous. And brown water snakes have a triangular head, they're not venomous. I wouldn't suggest rely on these. Don't get too close to a snake's head to try and work out if it's venomous or not, because you don't want to find out the hard way. Milk snakes, some of them have a striking resemblance to the venomous coral snake. Likely scares away predators, but unfortunately it makes it vulnerable to being killed by scared humans. As I've said, there are lots of exceptions. I'm English and I don't like tea, so I'm quite rare. By the time it takes you to run through one of these mnemonics, you've given the snake a chance to hopefully get away, or you've disturbed it enough for it to strike. It's simply not worth the risk. Don't rely on this. Don't wait until you've got this through your head. Just move away from the snake. Many people want to know if there's an easy way to distinguish venomous snakes from non-venomous. The simple answer is no. My last snake is our king snake. We have a little tiddler. He is my smallest snake. He's probably twice the length now he was when I first joined Frost 2 years ago. It's fascinating to see. Every time I look at him, I think he's grown. Again, you can see the difference in shedding here. This top left picture was on the 8th of February. 4 days later, the eye is completely different. He's got very dull skin, opaque white eye. Post shedding, you see all his markings coming out. He's beautifully shiny, and that beautiful googly eye is back. These snakes also are resistant to venom, and they are renowned snake for eating snakes. It looks a bit like this one's eating his tail. He's not, he's eating another snake. Obviously we know birds eat other birds, fish eat other fish. Snakes eat other snakes too. That's kind of all I've got for you guys. I do have some snake skins here to send around. I have 3. I was only going to bring 2, but our king snake actually decided today was the day he was going to shed. So I have a really fresh one. It's not fresh enough to still be soft, but it is my freshest snake skin. Feel free to take them out of the bags, feel them. Most of my guys are about to shed again very soon, so if these get broken, I don't care because I'm getting some more. The one I want you to really take a look at is the Eastern Indigo. Snakes have eye caps. It's like a contact lens. Woo! Hi, Marianne. It is skin over their eye. They shed that the same way they shed their skin. You can see it on these 2. I'll start passing them down. There's my nice fresh one. And there's one from your snake. Do get them out of the bag. The only thing on them is their substrate. It's not dirty substrate, and there's no poop in there, I promise. You will be able to feel it on these 2, these smaller snake skins. the difference with the ICAT. But the best one is my Eastern Indigo. It feels so much thicker, it actually feels like it's a contact lens that is shed off. And now I need to try and find it. Or have I? I may have bought the wrong skin. That's embarrassing. Oh my God, I bought the wrong skin. I feel like I've duped you all now. Well, you can still feel, did you feel it? Yeah? Those ones are tiny, but you can feel the difference. Yeah, have a big one. Without the other cat, I'm so embarrassed. I always just send you around my chart as well. I will open the floor up to any questions, but I will put it right out there right now. I may not be able to answer them. I've only been working with these guys for just over 2 years. I'm not an expert. I will try and answer them, but don't make it too hard. I hope I've given you a little insight into my world at Frost. Thank you very much for coming. Go out there and find some reptiles. They're awesome.
Yeah. So how many snakes do they have at Frost?
At Frost, we have 5. Yeah, we have 4 on show and 1, the ambassador, is off show.
And how many tortoises?
I have 2 tortoises and 3 turtles. I have 2 alligators and 1 crocodile.
How big is the crocodile?
The crocodile's 2.5 feet now, and he's 4 years old.
Baby
It's the one that
Yeah.
messes with you.
Yeah, he's the one that messes with me, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does like to greet me at the door whenever I'm going in to clean or feed. The problem I have with him is when he was already there when I started working at Frost, and the person or people before me, I think there's been about at least 4 other herpetologists in the 3 years I've been involved in Frost. None of them have been there long enough to start training. So I've effectively got a teenager that I'm trying to teach how to be good. It's tricky. I think birds and mammals are easier with that respect to train. I'm trying. He's better than he was, so I just have to keep my fingers crossed that I can keep going while he grows and be safe still.
What's the protocol when you clean? Are you the only one there?
Yes.
A little crazy.
Yes, if they were bigger. And that's part of the reason why we're trying to get this training involved. The previous crocodile, we have a permit for both our alligators and crocodiles for 4 feet. So as soon as they get to 4 feet, we swap them out. Where we get them from, we take them back and we get smaller ones because we don't have the space in the exhibit, and that's as far as our permit will go, is 4 feet. The previous crocodile was 4 feet. She was a big girl. They would always take more than 1 person in with them because of her size. I mean, you can train an animal as much as you like.
Oh, of course.
They still, yeah, exactly. That doesn't matter. It can be a bird, it can be a mammal. That's the same principle. Once I start getting him into a corner so that I can get him there clean, as soon as he gets near that 4 feet, which is a long way off yet, we will have more than 1 person in there. Because at that point, we've got to get him out. I cannot manhandle a 4-foot crocodile on my own. I did manhandle a 5-foot alligator when we swapped them out because they were a little larger than anticipated when moving them. That took 2 people, but I was the one sitting on it. Yeah, I quite like adding that 5-foot alligator to my resume. But again, the difference between alligators and crocodiles, the crocodile would have been fighting a lot more than the alligator. Alligators are relatively calm in comparison. I'm not looking forward to moving that crocodile, so I'm glad I've got a few years with his slower metabolism than the alligators.
Can you make their area really cold before you move it?
Not with the crocodile, because that water is linked up to some of our other systems, so it has to be maintained temperature for the fish that those systems are rated. So I can't move him. No. Alligators are a bit easier because I can force them out onto land, but also you have a lot more confidence if you know the animal is not going to be as snappy. I'm very much more cautious with the crocodile than the alligators. But a lot of my colleagues watch me do it and just go, I don't know how you do it. It's like, sometimes neither do I, but these things have to get done. So you just get on and do it. Adrenaline, I think, takes over at that point.
Crocodile habitat solar, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Do you know if they're very social, the crocodiles? Like, because it's coming down to shit, I wonder if it's.
I don't think TikTok is. Alligators are more social. Where we pick ours up from, they have like 2,000 out there. And we've got 2 alligators now in our ambassador program as well. They're going through quarantine at the moment, so I can't go anywhere near those ambassador ones. But our ambassador ones are like tiny, but they're so cute. You can hold 2 of them in your hand at the moment. They were in tubs where they literally had like 30, 40 that were all hatched at the same time. It was just a mass of really cute moving gators. Even in their bigger enclosures where they've got larger gators, they were still in social groups. It's only when they get to the really, really big ones they start to separate them off a bit. And they do have one there that he's known for eating other alligators, so he is kept on his own. I mean, they've got plenty of food up there for him if they want to feed him alligators, but they keep him separate.
Are iguanas genetically linked to alligators or crocodiles?
Way down the line, probably yes. But here, obviously, they're invasive as well. Don't make it difficult.
No. It's not a question. I wanted to add something because we do find crocodiles here in freshwater in Florida because there's a couple that hang out in Shark Valley. But the crocodile situation in Florida is interesting, and it's another very interesting difference between the two is that alligators are way more cold-hardy. They can, like, the ones in North Carolina can, like, when the water freezes, they keep their snout over the water level, and they end up surviving the whole winter like that. But for the crocodile, Florida is their northernmost extent of their range because they go all the way down to Costa Rica and South America, where this is where you'll get your 20-foot crocodile because the temperature allows for more growth. I think the Florida record for the American croc is 14 feet.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. But it's true that in Costa Rica, they look like the Australian saltwater crocodile. It's really scary. But it's the same species. And here, the cold snaps that we get actually limit the growth of crocodiles. But you can find them anywhere. I've seen them in the Gables, and there's like several that hang out in Shark Valley. Yeah. And apparently they spread from the Tampa Bay all the way back up to Pompano Beach on both coasts of Florida. So, yeah, it's they're here.
So
Let's go crocodile.
They do both, but they really don't tolerate. They tolerate both, but it just happens that they like mangrove and estuary ecosystems. Now they will go up in freshwater. And there's another fun fact I've heard biologists that have seen. Another question is: do alligators and crocodile produce hybrids? No, they don't, but they still try for fun. And apparently they've seen it happen. But yeah, there are places where you can see literally like 20 feet apart. There's crocodiles and alligators around Homestead or Shark Valley. It's cool. It's the only places in the world where you get 2 types of crocodilians, or like it's caiman or both types of crocodile. These are like radically separated cousins. Yeah.
Sounds like you need to take me on a trip.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's your favorite or most interesting experience working with these animals, if you have?
Should I admit to trying to talk to my gators? Most of you have probably heard the young alligators calling to their mums. I think I do quite a good impression of this, but I might be about to embarrass myself for the second time tonight. When we picked up these 4 gators, the really small ones didn't make a noise, which surprised me. I thought they'd be the ones that were more vocal because they were younger. But it's actually my slightly larger ones that are still calling to mum. I'm going to give this a go. Is it good? Yes.
If you're out in the wild, and I don't really recommend this, but under the table, if you're out in the wild and you want to see a reaction from a crocodile, if you make that sound, most likely they're very cannibalistic. So another dominant alligator will think as other baby gators as prey and easy food. So if you make a baby gator sound, it's not a good idea.
You're going to get eaten.
But it works, and so yeah. So I do it as well, but it's nowhere near as good as yours.
Thankfully, I do it in my exhibit, like behind the acrylic, that the guests
By
can't hear
yourself?
me. Yeah, the guests can't hear me, so it's fine.
I understand talking to your gators.
I think they listen. They stop. It's like, oh,
No,
Yeah.
what the hell? It speaks gator.
I know. Yeah, I have no idea what I'm telling them. Dinner's coming.
What is the, do you know, what is the status of gophers? Gopher tourists.
I know they're. I mean, I follow.
Still bred?
They are. Yeah, they are. Yeah. We have to have a permit to have them. Shortly, we'll be getting one from Zoo Miami that they are getting rid. Isn't the right phrase, but
Offloading.
yes, yeah. So we're going to take him in as an ambassador. But yeah, they are still very threatened. It's their habitat being destroyed. It's the simple, obvious reason. Yeah. I know there are lots of people out there trying to save them. And if there are places that are building properties that then find the tortoises, they will call people in to move the tortoises out rather than. Yeah. So there are people out there doing the right things.
So you're saying that baby alligators are calling their moms. How long do they, I mean, they don't nurse?
No.
What do they,
They're done.
why would they call their mom or look for her if they're on their own immediately?
You can probably answer this one.
It's for protection, because mommy alligators will stay with like 3 or 4 generations of babies. Yeah, absolutely. They'll protect them. And
they produce a lot of eggs, so it's the typical nature thing of here's a lot of eggs. I'll be able to keep some. Others will wander off, and
but they stick around mom. And and then what's fascinating is that these jaws are some of the most destructive killing machines on this planet. Yet when some babies hatch, they will delicately pick up their babies and pieces of eggs and take them to a nearby water source. It's just fascinating. And so if they're calling to mom, I guess it's a reflex for safety, or mom, I'm hungry. Because there's videos out there of when mom gator gets a big meal, you see all the little babies doing mini death rolls, like on pieces of meat.
I saw one the other day of that.
My heart,
Yeah, it's very cute. It's not so cute when my two are doing it.
No, I'm sure.
When I have to try and separate them. Yeah.
Hey, knock it off.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.